Good evening. Jihad El Jihad again with another entry to the book, The Autobiography of a Detroit Hustler. This is chapter 4. It's entitled The Rude Awakening. Now, I'm sure there will be many who will not understand the logic of what I'm about to say. Then there will be those from the old school game who will understand exactly when I say I detest a thief. Now, I'm sure those who've never been in the game and those wannabes and lames that claim the game will say, Red, you rob people at gunpoint. Who are you to make a distinction as to which is better or which is worse? Well, herein lies the difference. You got guys who will go out and rob someone, anyone, the corner store, the guy coming out of the corner store, the guy cashing his check after working in the plant all week, so forth and so on. To me, they're no better than a thief. You see, a thief will steal from anybody given the opportunity and the possibility of not getting caught. A thief has very little loyalty or principle. It takes a certain type of person to be a thief. Now, a stick-up man, a real stick-up man, as it was taught to me, draws a line as to who gets got and who don't. Joe Blow working stiff, the mom and pop corner store, the guy scuffling to feed his family, well, they get a pass. Plus, ain't no money in that no way. Makes you look bad, bad karma. A real stick up man, at least as the way it was taught to me, goes where the money's at. In my day, you wanted people like the dope man, not just any dope man, but the big fella, the one who had the sack. If push came to shove and you wanted and your habit kicked in, you might make an exception and take a step down just to get off crap. But that was out of necessity. In other words, you wanted someone handling large sums of cash and or drugs who was already in the underworld and knew the risk and chances involved and chose to play the game anyway. We wanted to go where the money was at, and that meant large business establishments, or best at all, the bank. Although it took a number of years before I was able to make that move. I'm chilling in my man Pork Chop spot one night on West Chicago Boulevard in Dexter. Pork Chop, or Porky was what we called him while we were growing up. He was actually a year younger than me. He now went by the name Spokane. I guess he got that name from the street he grew up on. Spokane. Spokane was deep into the dope game for a cat his age. I had just turned 18, which meant he couldn't have been more than 17. Like I said, I'm sitting blowing some cane and some heroin with my girl Janice, and there's another guy sitting there. We're all talking about getting some money, about the day's hustle and the day's events on the street, etc. Dude's name was Donald Braxton. He called himself Detroit Teal, as in cash register Teal. His game was Teal tapping. Let me explain. You see, nowadays you only got one type of hustler getting any kind of real money, and that's the dope boy. And I mean the big dope boy. And you got a lot, and after that you got a lot of addicts who engage in by chance haphazard hustles of opportunity, and the proceeds of which go primarily to the dope boy. And even most of them dope boys ain't getting no real money because they driving used cars, some of them nice cars, but they're still used, and they paying rent. And some of them driving new cars, but they got car notes. In my day, they was cashing out at the dealership, no notes. They were owning multiple homes, and very few can do that these days. I remember back in the 70s when it was reported on the news that a 15-year-old boy from Young Boys Incorporated showed up at a Mercedes dealership with a shopping bag full of money and paid cash for a Benz. Now those was real dope boys. And also back then you had other specialists who stuck to their game and got paid for it and was good at it. You had stick-up men, contract killers, bank robbers, second-story cat burglars, pimps, prostitutes, paper hangers, stuff players, gamblers, etc. Well, Donald's game was till tapping. To play this game, it took a team of at least two. It was possible to play it alone, but a team was better. In those days, they had the old style cash registers. These had a door on either side or in the back with a lock that took a certain master key to open. The keys were numbered for a particular type of cash register. Some registers had one drawer, which took a number 5 key. Some had 2 to 8 drawers, which took a number 2 key. One member of the team would act as a decoy, would pull the person away from the register. And when you open the door to the back of the register, there was a button to push where the drawer would open and the register's bell wouldn't ring. So while the decoy pulled, the other would creep open the drawers, and tap the till, steal the money, and walk out. Sounded like a good hustle to me. So the next morning I picked him up and we picked up his partner, my man Mike T, Pretty Mike. And these cats was good. They was real players. I was only the driver, knowing absolutely nothing about the law as it is and was at the time, during that time. I was cool being the driver. In my naivety, I figured just driving, if caught, I hadn't done shit and couldn't be charged with anything. And for this, I was supposed to get a third of the money. Now I was a long way from being stupid. I knew I wasn't getting the righteous third. We would start about 10 o'clock in the morning, sometimes go to 9, 10 o'clock at night, every day, just like a job. They would jump into the back seat. I'd pull off. They'd count and divide the money. When they were through, I'd pull over. Donald would usually get up front. They'd give me my share, and we start over, do this all day. At the end of the day, we split up after stopping at Spokane's to get a couple of blows and some cane, and I would watch how much money they spent. And it was always more money than I had in total. So I knew that three-way split was bullshit. They must have thought I was really stupid. But I know even at that age, sometimes you just keep your mouth shut and wait your turn. Plus, I was cool with it. As I said, I didn't know any better. And I thought since I was in between the lick of my own game, and I was isolated from the actual criminality of the hustle, so I thought it was just an easy way for me to make a lightweight hustle until I spotted a real lick of my own. After a few weeks of this shit, I got kind of lazy though. And it went like this for 2 or 3 months. Then bam, I got slapped with the rudest awakening of my young life. This day started out just like any other one of our normal days. It was February 1972 and cold as hell that day. We had been out all day and we had done pretty good. We were on our way home. We had done a lot of traveling that day and we ended up in a suburb of Detroit called Taylor. At that time it was Taylor Township when we came upon the Federal's department store. Now, I don't recall which one of them it was, Mike or Donald, but one of them wanted to keep heading home and the other one wanted to hit one more lick. They were usually in agreement, but for some reason that day, as I recall, there were a couple times they debated about whether a certain spot looked cool or not. So far that day, everything had worked out, but that was about to change for real. They decided to go in. I parked. I was pretty tired. I had a long night the night before and was up early. And after all that driving that day, I was glad to take this brief time to sit and nod. From my rear view mirror, I noticed a brown and white pickup truck at the parking spot directly behind me with a white man in it. What made me notice him was how he paid so much attention to Mike and Donald when they got out of the car. We were always dressed pretty fly, and because in those days there weren't many blacks in Taylor Township, we stood out like sore thumbs. They went into the store. Now he seems to be watching me, and he's blowing my nod because he's making me paranoid. Something about this dude ain't right. I want to go in and get him, but I don't want to get out and they come back and I'm not in the car ready to go. Plus, this is a very big store and I don't know exactly where they're at. So I wait and watch him watch me. 10 to 15 minutes later, they come out and get in the car. I'm looking in the rearview mirror and this cat in the truck has got a microphone in his hand. I pulled off and told them, stay down. I think the guy behind us is the police. Turns out I was right. We found out later that he was an off-duty Taylor Township police officer. Sure enough, he pulls out behind me and follows me out of the parking lot. Donald had one of those old-style paper department store bags with him, full of money mixed with store receipts. I tell him, throw those receipts out. We exit the parking lot on Wick Road. The direction to Detroit is to our left, but that's going through residential sections, stop signs, stoplights, and traffic. To the right is Telegraph Road, a straight shot, and then another right, a half mile to the north, and we'll be at I-94 freeway, a straight shot to Detroit. It's winter, about 5:30, dust dark, and snowing hard. Telegraph is a mile away, but it's rush hour traffic. Here we are in the middle of traffic on a busy 2-lane street, throwing store receipts out of the back windows of a car in the all-white business section of an all-white suburb with an off-duty cop on my ass, and I can't shake him because I'm stuck in traffic. As we approach Telegraph Road from my side view mirror, I see red and blue lights coming from a distance and more coming from the opposite side of Telegraph Road. I'm wondering, what the fuck did they do for all these police? I'm timing the light and the traffic. I'm almost at Telegraph, and back then you couldn't turn right on the red, at least as I'm going to do, not at least not legally. But there's one of them no driving ass, go by the book ass, slow driving ass motherfuckers in front of me that just missed the light. He's got me blocked. I'm blowing the horn because if I can get this dummy to move up just a couple of feet, I'm making that turn. Police coming hard from all directions, and it's about to be a high-speed chase out in this motherfucker. But this sucker turns around, looks at me, flips me a finger, and won't move. I wished I could have got out and whipped his ass. The light changed. He pulled off, but it's too late. Police cars pull up, sliding in the snow, fishtailing, 5 or 6 cars, and there's more coming. It's beginning to look real bad. Shit, from what I saw, what I see now on the History Channel, didn't that many police come for Lee Harvey Oswald? And they were jumping out of their cars, guns out, surrounding the car, but they wasn't saying shit. Now it's looking really bad. All this time, Mike and Donald was still ducking in the back seat like they was hiding or something. Finally, they get on the bullhorn and say, driver, put your hands on the steering wheel. You in the back seat, put your hands on the front seat. It was over. You could have stuck a fork in us because we was done. They took us to the Taylor Township jail, a little hole in the wall that with just 2 cells. Me and Donald in one cell, Pretty Mike in the other. And here we were for the next 2 weeks until we made bond. These racist motherfuckers even played games with us by opening the cell doors and letting these 2 huge German shepherds, police dogs, walk around the bullpen in front of our cells, unattended. Every time we moved an inch, they would turn and growl, flashing them big ass teeth. If we hollered, come get these dogs, they would come to the cell door, barking and growling, about to come in. We could hear the police on the other side of the door laughing their ass off. There were times also during these 2 weeks when they had made other arrests. And at one time, for a couple of days, they had 5 people per cell with barely enough room for 2. We had to take turns sleeping, 2 stand up while 3 lay down. We were charged with unarmed robbery and given a $10,000 bond each. Mike was the first one to make bond. Donald never did.